Friends, today we have 4 paranormal stories on the road, where once again we confirm that these are places where situations happen that have no explanation at all. As always, I invite you to subscribe and share this video if you can to help me reach new people who don't know the channel yet. And you can send me your experiences to the WhatsApp number that's currently showing on the screen. The number and duration of audio messages you send are irrelevant, and you can also add photos, videos, or anything else you think is necessary to make your story as complete as possible. If your story is selected and there are questions, I'll contact you. But before we begin, I would like to thank everyone who is supporting the new segment of the channel, Stories from the Other Side, with interviews. There are currently 2, with many more on the way, but there's something you should be aware of. And I'm saying this because many of you wrote to me showing a bit of anger, a bit of doubt, a bit of uncertainty. And that's why today I want to clarify things a little for you. What does the situation look like? On one hand, friends, the episodes just as you know them, rest assured they're going to keep coming. Wednesdays and Saturdays at 10 at night. This is unchangeable and it's not going to change at all. But now we're adding the new segment of Stories from the Other Side, with interviews that at first aired on a Wednesday so you could get to know the segment. It later aired on a Sunday. The last and next episodes will likely air on Monday. I'm testing which day gets a better response, but it's probably going to be on Mondays at 7 in the evening and every 2 weeks on Wednesdays and Saturdays. I repeat, the episodes will still be available as always. I completely understand that many of you don't like the interview format, and that's why the episodes will remain the same. I understand that the online format isn't the most appealing and can have some technical issues. The topic being discussed in the interview can be either very interesting or very boring. And that's why the interviews will take place outside of the usual episodes. Friends, having said that, and I hope you're calm and that I've cleared up all your doubts, let's begin this new paranormal episode. I'm from Salta, and I want to tell you something that not only scared me, but also left me more than confused. Because I realized that many times out there we're never alone. There are energies that maybe we don't see, but they're there, and in some circumstances they show themselves without us expecting them. I'm from Metan, but that time, for a personal matter, I had traveled to the city of Salta. After completing my plans, I began my return journey. I was unemployed, so saving money was extremely important to me, and that's why I decided to start the journey back on foot. And here's an important point. It's almost 150 kilometers. It would be almost impossible to do them this way, so I focused on trying to hitchhike as much as possible. Around here, there are a lot of people who are willing to give you a ride if you need it. And that's how, after just a few kilometers, a pickup truck stopped and offered to take me at least a little further ahead. He dropped me off right in Cabeza de Buey, a small village located on Route 9, where there's a police checkpoint that many people from the area probably know. The thing is, I thanked him, got out, and I started walking. I still had about 90 kilometers ahead of me. The most complicated thing up to that point was the time. It was past 5 in the afternoon, and even though it was summer and it gets dark a little later, I didn't like the idea of night falling while walking in the middle of the road. And of course, I never imagined that something would happen to me in this place that, at the very least, was strange. Walking along the side of the road, I went about 50 meters or so, and a man on a bicycle came up beside me. He greeted me kindly and asked me how far I was going. I answered him without noticing certain details that later caught my attention. First of all, he was dressed completely in black, which might be strange, but everyone dresses how they want and can. Another detail was his teeth. When he smiled, they looked much more yellow than what we usually see in some people. He was pale with very dark circles under his eyes. Notably, he was wearing a black helmet. But among these details, one thing must be clear. Everyone's life is a world of its own, and of course we can't judge based on appearances. I asked the unfamiliar man where he was from, but he didn't answer. Instead, he remained silent, smiled, and continued gazing at me. And after a few seconds, he finally gave an answer, but it wasn't really what I had asked him. He told me that he was probably going to pedal all night because he had to get to San Miguel de Tucumán the next day. Let's see, he was an adult, older. He didn't have any luggage of any kind. It was just him and his bicycle. And I point this out because from Cabeza de Buey to San Miguel de Tucumán, it's about 250 kilometers. Something that, while not impossible, many cycle tourists do. This man didn't fit the profile of someone making such a journey, and even less so throughout the entire night. We talked for 2 more minutes, where I asked him if he was alone or with a group or a companion. He told me he was alone. And just like that, he said goodbye and kept on pedaling. I kept walking. I watched him as he went down the road, and meanwhile, I kept looking back to see if anyone would stop to give me a ride. Luckily, right at that moment, a vehicle stopped and gave me a ride. It was an ambulance that, if I remember correctly, was heading to Rosario de la Frontera. Without hesitation, they offered to drop me off in Metan since it was on their way. And you know what was odd? I even told the paramedics about it. The truck started moving along Route 9 and we never saw that man on the bicycle. From the moment I last saw him riding away until I got into the ambulance and we started driving down the road, no more than 2 minutes had passed. And isn't it an area where he could have taken some alternate route, which wouldn't make sense either, knowing that he was heading toward Tucumán? At that moment, I remembered something that came to my mind. As soon as I started walking in Cabeza de Buey, I found by the side of the road a memorial for someone who had died there. It had flowers, which caught my eye, but I didn't stop to see who it was for. It was easy for my mind to automatically make this connection. That man on the bicycle, who mysteriously approached me, spoke to me, and then disappeared right on Route 9.
We should have crossed paths with him at some point. I never crossed paths with him again. I don't know who he was or what this person was. Or perhaps it was the soul of those flowers I mentioned earlier, the ones that caught my eye. It could have been that. Maybe this man died there. Or maybe he thinks he's still alive and wanders around that part of the road. But this... A person of that age would have to ride a bike all night to Tucumán. Then I got scared because when I was telling the driver, the ambulance guy says to me, "Look, my friend, Eddie, I don't know who it could have been," he says to me, or I don't know who it could have been, but we should have crossed paths with him. This man was telling me maybe it was the devil. He told me he was dressed in black, had holes like that, his face piercing, the look of this man. That's what he told me, you know. But honestly, I don't know what it could have been or who it could have been. Why did it appear to me during the day on top of that? It was around 5 in the afternoon, like I was telling you. Honestly, I still think about it to this day. I don't know.
This story didn't happen to me specifically, but to my dad, and he told me about it many times. Because no matter how many years went by, he couldn't forget or understand what had happened. Unfortunately, my old man died a few years ago, and I would love for his experience, his story, to be immortalized so that everyone can know about it. He worked as a truck driver for many years. Listen to what's coming next. It occurred to him at age 37 while transporting animals in his truck from Rosario to the province of Entre Rios at a usual time and on a route he knew perfectly well. He arrived in Entre Rios, unloaded the animals, and started returning to Santa Fe. He was doing very well on the road without any problems. And before I continue, I want to clarify that at that time the Rosario Victoria Bridge didn't exist, so he had to take a much longer route than what we have available today. Night and drizzle descended upon him. He was in Entre Rios. He had passed the entrance to Diamante a few kilometers back, and there, in that place, that's when something happened. He felt something that put him on alert and realized that there was someone else with him inside the cab. He didn't dare look directly at the passenger seat, but he did glance a bit downward and sideways. He almost fainted from fear when he saw that there was a woman sitting next to him. He could see 2 bare feet and what seemed to be a dress that reached almost down to the ankles. He tilted his head a little more, and with his peripheral vision he saw that there was indeed a woman sitting next to him, dressed in white. Anyway, he didn't dare to look at her because fear started to overwhelm him. According to him, he had heard hundreds of stories and legends that he never believed. He thought of them as mere fantasies. But that night, everything changed because he experienced it firsthand, completely alone in his truck.
At one point he thought, should I stop the truck and start running? But where would I go? Where would I go? It's all woods, all fields, it's raining, it's past 11:30 at night, you couldn't see anything. I have to keep going, but what do I do? She says that the only thing she could think of was to look ahead, to focus. But he obviously felt it all the time. It was like that thing next to him was watching him, looking for his gaze without knowing why. He never turned around to look at what was sitting next to him. So, well, he kept going, terrified, he kept going. And at one point he started to see the lights of the Victoria Highway Patrol. He was already arriving in Victoria. And when he realized that that thing was gone, because as I said, the road had just started to light up, he stopped the truck. The police officers were there. Obviously they asked him for his papers and asked him what was wrong, because clearly his face didn't look right. He was showing that he was very scared. So then my dad says, no, look, this happened to me while I was crossing the diamond crossing. Something sat next to me in the seat of the truck, he says, and it stayed with me for an hour, the whole way until I got here to the highway patrol. Oh yes, he says, that's not normal. What is normal? My dad asks him. He asks if the famous bride appeared to the other person, who responds with confusion, not knowing what bride he's referring to. He says, many years ago, says one. Before, he says, it was customary for brides, he says, to walk all the way to the church in Pueblito, he says, to get married. Her fiancé would wait for her at the church, and they would walk there together. That was the custom before. Here in the village, he says. It turns out that misfortune found this girl, he says, on her way to the village church, he says, because she had to take that exact route, he says, and the truck ran her over and she died instantly. So she sits next to all the men who pass by alone, and for those on horseback, she sits behind them. He says many accidents occurred because people saw her. It's unknown what they saw, if she spoke to them or if she touched them, he says. But many have had accidents. Not fatal, but they've had accidents. Many experience the same. Someone sits beside them, they're afraid to look, and when they finally see a light, it vanishes.
My old man came home that time scared and confused like never before, and from that moment on, it was something he told whenever he could. One detail, we never knew if this was related to that specter. It was that my old man got sick the next day and was unwell for almost 2 weeks. Maybe this woman stole some of his energy. I don't know, it's just a theory that comes to my mind. We never found a reasonable explanation, but we are certain of one thing. He wasn't the only one. Not only did the police confirm it, but over time we found out that other people also witnessed this woman, and no one really knows what it's about. Of course, I would like to know if anyone else went through this and what their experience was like. I'm from Santiago del Estero, the capital, and just a few weeks ago something happened to me that I can't understand, and I would like to share it with everyone who listens to the channel. My current partner lives in Loreto, which is about 60 kilometers from my house, and that night we had planned to meet and have dinner together. Just a few days ago, I had gotten a new motorcycle, and it was the perfect occasion to try it out. I hadn't ridden the motorcycle on the road until that cold day. The chill is a downside when riding, but not a major issue. The thing is, I was in Laredo with my partner, we walked around for a while, then we had dinner, I stayed a few more hours, and I went back home because I had to work the next day. It was past midnight, closer to 1, I'd say, when I started heading home. The exit from Laredo is partially lit, but once you get on Route 9, it gets dark. And only the entrances to the towns have some streetlights, but the rest is total darkness. I was going at about 100 kilometers per hour. It was pretty cold, of course, and I started to feel something strange. I wouldn't know how to describe it, but it was a horrible feeling. What was it due to? Until then, I didn't know. A few kilometers ahead, I was between Araga and Santa Maria, about halfway through the trip, when this feeling became not only more intense, but even more horrible. I was coming in total darkness in the middle of Route 9, and I feel someone grabbing me by the waist. But not only that, I even felt the weight of a person sitting behind me. It was something terrifying and literally impossible, no matter how you look at it, but it happened just the way I'm telling you. I can't explain to you the fear I felt when I realized that someone was holding onto my waist at that moment. I didn't know what to do, whether to stop or not. Feeling that in the middle of nowhere and in total darkness, I completely ruled that out, so I sped up even more. I had to reach a town where there was light, and only then try to figure out how to continue or what to do. And luckily, it was almost when I reached Santa Maria. The light from a street lamp and a car coming from the opposite direction made this leave me in peace. Because it was just passing under a light and this simply disappeared. Or rather, I stopped feeling it because I never saw anything. I want to be clear that I didn't even dare to look in the mirrors at that moment.
On Route 9, heading back to Santiago, an incredible thing happened to me that I'm sharing with you first. I plan to tell my family everything tomorrow. It's been something incredible that's happened to me. It's really been something. I haven't gotten home with a cold shiver, cold fear that you can feel. Thank you, I'll tell you about it today. It was tough here, but I hope you can share it with your YouTube friends. This occurred due to a new issue en route to Loreto.
Good morning, Andres. How are you? My name is Fernando. I'm from San Clemente del Tuyú. Well, my case is for calculation to confirm if a name can be added. What happened to this couple on Route 2 near Vivorata and to this man near General Piram? What I'm about to tell you actually happened to me on Route 11, not Route 2. The one that runs along the Atlantic coast, leaving from Mar del Plata and heading toward the Costa district that is towards San Clemente.
In 2018, he was a traveling salesman of construction products, and although he had destinations all over the province, Mar del Plata was a regular destination almost every week. That time, he was driving along Route 11, and if we look at the map, quite close to Vivorata. Something very strange happened to me, which from my point of view is related to those events on Route 2. Of course, each person after hearing this story will be able to draw their own conclusions. I was returning home to San Clemente del Tuyú one Saturday after delivering in Mar del Plata. It was around 11 at night. I passed through Santa Clara del Mar, Mar de Cobo, and the Mar Chiquita toll booth. I drove about 10 more kilometers and something happened to me that until that moment I thought was impossible. I was completely alone. It's a very dark area, like any road at night, and in front of me a dark shadow crossed from one side to the other, heading toward where Vivorata happens to be. Just for reference, this shadow was blacker than the night itself. It was as if it swallowed the light coming from the truck's headlights. It had a shape similar to that of a human body, but it easily stood over 3 meters tall. It was just 2 or 3 seconds simply, but it was so clear that it froze my blood.
Listening to these cases, both the one from General Piran and the one from Vivorata. If you start to analyze it, I'm going to send you a location of where it happened to me and you'll realize that it's there. It's parallel to Vivorata, not so much to General Piran, but yes to Vivorata and Coronel Vial, where it's seen the most. This phenomenon. Because honestly, I don't know what to make of it. It's a phenomenon. I'll repeat it for you. We're talking about something black. I'm not sure if it was suspended in the air since I didn't get a close enough look. It's 3 meters tall and black. That I can vouch for. Inexplicable. Honestly, it's inexplicable what these people told both Vivi Barada and Gina Perron. I joined them and say, this exists and it's out there. It's in that area. If it weren't for these 2 connected cases appearing in the same area with similar characteristics, we wouldn't be discussing this. I would never have told anyone. I told my family first, and now I'm telling you. I swear I saw it that night.
Thank you for watching until the end. I hope you like these 4 stories. If you've had a similar experience, please share it in the comments. That way, we encourage more people to share their experiences, which often stay within a very, very small circle of people. Saying goodbye for now. See you soon. Sending a big hug to everyone.